Jiu-Jitsu literally translates from the Japanese as soft hand. Jiu-Jitsu is a grappling-based martial art where a practitioner will attempt to overcome an opponent on the basis of positioning, leverage, and submission holds. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is the evolution of the art that a Kodokan member, Mitsuya Maeda, spread around the world in the early 20th century. Most notably, the Gracie family of Brazil further refined the art and eventually came to popularize their version worldwide. Among the causes that the Gracie family championed was that somebody skilled in their brand of jiu-jitsu could use it to overcome a larger, more aggressive opponent using the principles of leverage, positioning, and patience, even if they happen to be smaller and weaker. The Gracie family and their disciples continue to test and refine their theories and techniques for the last 70 years, right on up till today.
From its origins as a street-based self-defense art, people train in jiu-jitsu for a number of different reasons. Of course, there's the self-defense aspect of it, but there's also a sporting aspect, both pure terms of training with the gi or without the gi, and there's competitions based on that. Jiu-jitsu also forms the root and the base of mixed martial arts. And remember, mixed martial arts is a sport as well, and it's not street self-defense. People will also come in and train jiu-jitsu for the benefits of a vigorous exercise program, their health and well-being, and also the camaraderie that comes from training in an academy. It's important to think of jiu-jitsu as a martial art as a whole. It's not merely a collection of moves or simply submission. There's a lot of different martial arts right now that can show you what an armbar or a choke is. What makes it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that you're practicing is the context that you put it in. As I move through, if I'm saying that I'm using Jiu-Jitsu in an encounter to solve a problem, I have a checklist that I run through my head. 3 things that I'm trying to always do, or 3 things that I'm always minding if I'm using Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to solve a problem. Those 3 things are in order: safety, position, finish. If I think about those 3 things, then I can say that I'm using Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in order to get out of this encounter. Simply put, safety is your ability to not get finished off in a fight. As the Grandmaster Helio Gracie once said, as long as I keep myself safe and as long as I haven't been finished off, injured, or rendered unconscious, you always have a chance to come back and win the fight. So your safety will be your first priority. Okay. At the same time, I'm going to expand that explanation a little bit, and that safety is that you want to make sure that you take as little damage in the encounter as possible, and if you're training, you want to be able to come back and train the next day. You can't get any better if you're injured and on the shelf. It's difficult to describe position without actually using the word position, but you can define it as the relative location between the combatant or combatants in the encounter. For a crude explanation of how position works that you can actually demonstrate at home, here we have 2 of our students facing off. Now, assuming that everything's equal, strength, size, skill level, etc., when both combatants are facing off, neither has an advantage. Both ones can do the same amount of options, both have the same attacks, both have everything's equal. Now if we move along to the side, we can see that just based solely on position, one combatant has an advantage over the other. Because one combatant still has the same amount of options that they had with the previous encounter, but the other combatant only has about half of their range right now. If they want to get their range back, they're going to go ahead and have to turn and face. And here, of course, is the last one, when one person's on the other person's back. This should be fairly obvious who has the advantage in this situation. Of course, this is probably the easiest place to win a match. Anybody can win a fight when they're on the back, but it's important to know what to do when somebody's on your back. Don't try that at home though. Usually in Jiu-Jitsu, when we talk about finish, we talk about ending the encounter with a submission hold. Chokes and strangulations, major joint manipulations such as arm bars. Jiu-Jitsu tends to favor the upper body first, and as you get advanced, it might move on to the lower body, starting at the ankles, moving to the knees. There's even some spine manipulations and things like that. But from a finish standpoint, we could also be talking about the knockout. Now, most Jiu-Jitsu places won't necessarily train the knockout on a regular basis, but as a practitioner, it's something that you should always be aware of because the roots of Jiu-Jitsu still stem from self-defense. Just think about it this way. Every submission is a finish, but not every finish is a submission. One of my favorite analogies to Jiu-Jitsu is comparing it to the game of chess. If you think about chess, both opponents will be sitting here with the exact same amount of options available to them. Through the course of the action of the chessboard, my goal is to continue to take away options from my opponent until I leave him with only one option. That's forcing the checkmate or the tap out. In the end, I can summarize Jiu-Jitsu with just one word, and that word is control. I'm trying to control my opponent. Think about it this way, I'm trying to make my opponent do something that he doesn't want to do, and my opponent's trying to make me do something that I don't want to do. If I want to have any hope of controlling somebody else, I've got to have control of myself. Think about that.